Oh my god. Look at this! I have a very serious problem. A problem that all ant keepers of this species inevitably go through. Now these tropical fire ants can be an ant keeper's dream, or can be an ant keeper's nightmare. Look at all these ants! It's incredible, they have completely filled up all living spaces that I've provided for them. And they're constantly requiring more space, more food, and also I'll wake them. And what I did to circumvent their plans. And also actually change their minds. So be sure to keep watching until the end. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ants Canada Ant Channel. Now let's go back to a couple weeks ago when this colony was smaller. At this point, the colony was an okay size, manageable, eating well, maintenance was pretty easy as well, and they were a delight to watch. There weren't too much, but there also weren't too little. But then I noticed something very alarming. If you look over there, you'll see ants on the screen, right underneath the cover. Not exactly an emergency situation, because they're still inside and they can't get through the cover. But this was alarming because it meant the ants were crossing my barrier. Now the thing is, here in the Philippines, the air is super humid all the time, which means that dry barriers like baby powder and fluon lose its effectiveness over time, simply due to the moisture in the air. And so what I now have to do is I have to add baby powder every month just to replace this barrier so the ants can't cross. I just simply dip a cotton ball into some baby powder and gently pat it against the upside down lip. Now here's the thing. If you look carefully there at the top, you'll notice that there's a grouping of ants just kind of sitting there. Sitting there as if they were planning something, or they were waiting for something. Based on experience, when ants do this, I found that they're ready to make an escape. And if you notice now that all of that baby powder's there, it seems like that grouping is starting to disseminate, and they're all going away. Thankfully, these ants are in an AC outworld which is designed to keep ants like these fire ants inside. And luckily, it comes with a cover. I also make sure to place baby powder on the bottom of the cover, just to keep this from happening again. Now on goes the cover, and I don't have to worry. Our colony at this size is very healthy, not too crowded, and they've established a very prominent highway, but are not completely carpeting the surface. They are, however, growing at a very exponential rate. And I've found that the larger the colony, the more aggressive they are, which can prove to be a challenge, especially when you're working around them. In this case, like when I'm changing water tubes. These ants are super aggressive, and I definitely need to wear gloves. Of course, when working around these girls and dealing with disconnections and connections, I will have some escapees. And for them, I just flick them back into the outworld so they can rejoin their colony. Escaped ants basically are kind of helpless. They'll die without their colony. Ants are stronger in numbers. A lone ant wandering around is kind of useless, and I always find those random escapees that escape while I'm disconnecting connections, trying desperately to get back and rejoin their colony. But this video is not about those random escapes. This video is about their great escape. Now remember when we saw that grouping of the ants kind of just hanging out? As I said before, I always find that ants hanging around in groupings like this in their outworld, somewhere towards the top, indicate that the ants are sort of contemplating ways to get out of this familiar space. Now it's not out of the ordinary for ants to set up resting spots around their outworld, by any means, but with these fire ants, when I find them hanging out or on the top, it's kind of a red flag for me. Now I find when ants are showing signs of wanting to escape their setup, it usually means that they need more food. So in this case, when I suspect that they want to escape, I just double their feeding portions. I know this helps because every single time I add more food, I see less and less of these ants just hanging around the top, contemplating an escape. Anyone who's kept this species knows exactly what I'm talking about. These ants are voracious eaters. When these girls want to escape, I just feed them more cockroaches. Check it out, guys.